When was the last time you truly stopped to appreciate the little things? Not just the big wins, but the everyday moments. A kind word from a friend, or even the comfort of your morning coffee. We often get so busy chasing the next goal that we forget to appreciate what's already in front of us. And here is something to think about. When life gets tough, can gratitude still play a role? And is it possible to find something to be thankful for even in difficult times? My name is Ruhi, and I'm the host of Let's Align podcast. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And if you have been with me before, welcome back. Today, let's talk about gratitude. Why is it so powerful, and how can we make it part of our daily life? I'm excited to invite my guest today who will talk about how gratitude can transform our lives. She will help us explore answer to the questions. What does gratitude really mean? How can we cultivate it in our daily lives? And what are the surprising benefits that come from embracing this simple yet powerful practice? Sarah, welcome to my show, and it's so good to have you on my show.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruhi. I'm pleased to be here. It's lovely to be here with you and your audience.
Thank you so much. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, Sarah, can you help our audience know a little bit more about you?
Yes, thank you. I was a registered nurse for 20 years. I grew up believing that when we're sick, we need doctors and medicine and pills. And that was my belief for 41 years. And I didn't know anything about gratitude at the time, or mindfulness or meditation. But I got sick and I spiraled into a dark depression and burned out my adrenal glands, and my thyroid became underactive. And I just knew that I could do something to heal myself, but I didn't know what it was. And through time and patience, because in that depressed state, I wasn't able to think very well, I actually learned intuitively that I was practicing gratitude. It was probably about 18 months down the line after suffering from the depression. But looking back, I see that I did start practicing gratitude, not even knowing what I was doing, just looking for the little things in my life to help me to feel better. And once I'd started healing, I wanted then to help other people to understand what healing actually takes, and to know that we don't always need drugs, that we can do so much for ourselves. So I surrendered my nursing license and trained as a coach to help other people to help themselves.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey. It's truly inspiring. So, to begin with, how do you personally define gratitude, and what role has it played in your life?
Gratitude, a lot of people think of it as just like thank you, I'll see some blue sky, thank you, and I've had a great cup of coffee, thank you. But it's more than just the words thank you. It's about embodying that feeling, that appreciation, and really feeling it in your heart and body and mind. And when we can do that, we shift our energy and our emotional state. It helps to lift us up from those more negative emotions. And how can people bring it into their lives? It's about finding the little things in life that make you feel happy. So I'm a big believer that we can't just wake up, go, I'm going to be happy today. Yes, happiness is a choice, but we can see happiness through the gratitude for those little things, seeing the sunrise, making a nice cup of tea or coffee in the morning and really sitting and enjoying it. Having a conversation with a friend, seeing flowers on the trees or on the ground when you're out walking, smelling fresh cut grass. All of those things make us feel really good. And that's what gratitude does, is it lifts our spirits from the inside.
That's such a beautiful perspective on gratitude, and it's amazing how it's not just about saying thank you, but truly shifting the way we see and experience life. Now, there's a fine line between gratitude and complacency. How can one express gratitude while still pushing for personal and professional growth?
Just repeat that. Gratitude and
Complacency.
No, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a fine line between gratitude and complacency.
Competency.
There is a fine line between gratitude and contentment. How can one express gratitude while still pushing for personal and professional growth? What are your thoughts on that?
So we can use gratitude as in looking for the small things in life to
Hmm.
appreciate. But contentment I see as a bigger picture. It's about being accepting and being okay and even happy with where we are in life,
Hmm.
what we're doing, who our friends are, our role in life, our purpose in life. Whereas gratitude is more about all the little things and finding the joy in the little things. So
So
I would
yes,
say one small detail and one's big picture.
yeah. So can I say that gratitude should empower us and not limit us?
Absolutely, yes. We can use it to lift ourselves up and I don't see that it could limit us because it's easy to compare ourselves with others and say, well,
Hmm.
they're at this stage in their life and I'm only here. But it's like we're comparing apples and oranges. So
Yeah.
let's look back at our life and see where we were to where we are now. And then we can express lots of gratitude for the lessons we've learned, the obstacles we've overcome, the progress we've made, and we can use gratitude to empower ourselves to move ourselves forward.
That's so true. Now, if I may ask, what's the biggest misconception people have about gratitude?
I think a lot of people don't fully understand it and think it's just a thank you and just say thank you. You know, I have gratitude. Somebody's opened the door for me. Thank you. I'm grateful for you opening the door. But it's more than that. As I said earlier, it's a feeling. It's that sense of happiness, I suppose, that deeper sense of joy that the little things bring us.
Yeah, gratitude is often misunderstood as you called out, as just a reaction to good things happening or just saying thank you. But it's all about a mindset, not just a feeling. And I think a lot of our listeners may have believed in that misconception too, that gratitude as something passive rather than an active voice.
Yes, it's absolutely active. We need to do it in ourselves, either speak it out loud or
Mhm.
say it in our heads, just thankful. Gosh, that was beautiful. How blessed am I to see this, have this, do this.
That's so true. Some argue that gratitude can sometimes lead to ignoring real problems or settling for less than one deserves. How do you practice gratitude while still advocating for change in your life?
I practice gratitude every day for everything I am, the lessons and blessings I've been through, what I have, what I'm doing. And I use it to move me forwards. And I practice gratitude for future things because manifestation is all about bringing the future into the now. But we have to have the emotions of feeling what that feels like in the future to bring it into our now. So we can use gratitude to be thankful for whatever it is that we want in that future and hold it in this now moment. So we can use it to propel ourselves forward into the future that we want to create for ourselves.
That's so true. And in fact, some of the most impactful leaders and change makers practice deep gratitude while still advocating for better opportunities, relationships, or even systemic change. Now, in your experience, how does gratitude evolve over different stages of life? Like, does it look different in youth, middle age, and later years?
I think it can do. It depends what people hold dear, what nourishes people's souls, really, at the crux of it. So for me, being outside a sunrise, the scent of the almond blossom on the trees at the moment, just those little tiny things. But for maybe younger people, it might be somebody sent them a text message, just checking in on them, see how they are. It could be, that they've got a great relationship with parents. It could be they've got a fantastic social support network. Sorry. For older people, it could be the same as in they've got a secure network, but it could be also that somebody's messaged to check in on them. So it's about whatever that person, that generation holds near to their heart, holds near and dear. What really lights them up and nourishes their soul. Those are the things to have gratitude for.
Yeah, that's so true. When we are actually younger, the gratitude might be about simple joys. But as we age, it often shifts towards appreciating the resilience, relationships, or even the challenges. I think many listeners can reflect on how their own understanding of gratitude has evolved over time. How do you think the world would change if more people embrace gratitude as a way of life?
Wow, how indeed. It would just be so much happier. There'd be peace around the world and people would have such great relationships with each other in their own country, in different countries. And it would just be such a better place to live in.
I couldn't agree more. Gratitude definitely has the power to change how we see challenges, how we connect with others, and even how we navigate uncertainties in life. But as you pointed out, it's a mindset shift that takes the practice.
Yeah.
This is something I wanted to ask and know your perspective. Looking back, what's one lesson that about gratitude that took you the longest to learn?
That I had to go through those 3 years of hell in that dark place, in that depression, because I've been through that, it changed my whole life trajectory. I believed I would be a nurse until I retired. Retirement was not an age thing. It was an ability thing. You know, I saw myself as a nurse until maybe I was 70, 80, 90 years old, working in a hospital, helping people, because I wanted to do that caring, to help people in their vulnerable times. But because I went through that dark time, I saw that actually, yes, I wanted to help people, but I didn't want to help them as in disempowering them. I wanted to help them to help themselves. And I wasn't doing that as a nurse. So because I went through all of that, I had that time to process everything and realize that actually I needed to help people to help themselves. And I could do that as a coach. So I had to step out of nursing and go into coaching to change my life trajectory. But I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't have gone through that dark time. So I have deep gratitude for those awful 3 years that I went through, because it helped me to see actually what I really wanted in life and change my whole life trajectory.
Sometimes the hardest truths about gratitude are the ones that take the longest to sink in. And it's interesting how some of the most valuable lessons about gratitude come from life's toughest moments. So when you were talking about it, I can only imagine the resilience you had and you still have to come out of those challenging times and still feel grateful for all the experiences that you have been through.
Absolutely.
There are times in life when gratitude feels almost impossible, and I have been in that space. How do we honor those emotions while still finding a way back to gratitude?
It's about finding the smallest thing that you can have gratitude for. So, from my own perspective, when I realized I was starting practicing gratitude, I was looking up at the sky. It was spring in the UK and it was grey and cloudy. So, I'm looking for the tiniest little bit of blue sky that I could see to have gratitude for. I'm looking at the buds on the trees, knowing that they're going to burst forth into flowers and leaves so that I could have gratitude. Even just at home, I turned to alcohol to help me cope through those times. But I remember sitting down with a cup of coffee and just holding it and just thinking, what a great cup of coffee. You know, even if you can sit down for 5 minutes and have that 5 minutes for yourself, just come back into yourself. This 5 minutes is my 5 minutes. And you know, how grateful am I to have this time? So it's those tiny little things. Waking up in the morning, I know I didn't always want to, but waking up in the morning thinking, what can I do for myself today? And that's a huge part of life in itself, is that we have the choice. And I know it sounds so simple, but if somebody had have told me all that time that I was in that dark space, that I could choose to think about happy times in my life, to lift that happiness in me rather than stay in that sad, negative, emotional state and wallow, because I felt a victim and I played the victim. So if we can turn our thoughts around and look for what is good in today, what can I express gratitude for? You know, is it that 5 minutes? Can I get outside and walk? Even the things that we take for granted. Have I got a roof over my head? Because as many people haven't. Have I got a bed to sleep in at night? Because there's people around the world that don't. Have I got food in my fridge, in my larder, my pantry? Because there's people around the world starving. And just express gratitude for all of that we take for granted.
Life isn't always easy, and definitely there are times when gratitude feels like the last thing we can access. But I also know that during such situations, many people they choose to either ignore or suppress their emotions. What do you have to say about it?
Yes, and I did exactly that as well. during those dark days. I tried to suppress everything and repress it, especially with alcohol, rather than feel it. But the thing is, we have to feel it to heal it. And again, that sounds so simple, but the emotions that we don't want to feel are there because the time is right. Our subconscious knows. So it brings up those feelings for us to feel them. And it's easy to sit in victim mode and go, look at me, look what's happening to me, because I did that for years. But actually, if we can turn that around and go, why is this happening to me? Or no, why is this happening for me? How can what I'm going through now benefit my life? What are the lessons or the blessings in what's happening now? How can I use this as a stepping stone into my future? What skills am I gaining from this? And it's a case of choosing which question you ask yourself depending upon the circumstances, because the loss of a relative, there's never a blessing in it. It's always a loss. But we can gain skills, we can grow stronger from our adversities. So if we can look at how is this adversity helping us to help ourselves? What resilience are we showing? What skills can we build to help ourselves? It's all about coming back into ourselves and asking, what am I getting from this event, or what's been said, or what's occurred, or this situation? And how can I use that to move forward into my future? What positive might come from it?
I heard you saying that you were in the victim mode, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure our listeners who may be going through challenging time at this moment, they may be in the victim mode right now. But what's your message to them for them to start thinking that they are not victims and whatever is happening, it's happening to them? How do they come out of that mode?
First of all, can I say, you have to sit in victim mode and feel it, because it's a valid emotion. You have to really feel into it. Look what's happening to me. Look what they did. They said, look at my life now. I'm the victim here. It's also wrong. It's also unfair. And we all have to sit in that and really feel into it to validate it for ourselves, because if that's how we're feeling, we need to validate ourselves. All too often, people grow up looking for external validation. When you're in that victim mode, it's very rare that somebody's going to validate it for you. So validate it yourself. Know that it's okay to be that victim and feel that victim. But then we also have to ask ourselves the questions that I just mentioned earlier. What is this situation bringing for me? What is the positive for this situation? How can I move myself beyond it? What skills am I developing? What strengths am I developing? How am I building resilience through what I'm going through? And how is it working for me in a positive light? So going back to the deep darkness I was in, at the time, it took me a long time to come to asking myself some of those deeper questions. But once I did, I saw that actually I needed to leave the hospital. I believed I needed to leave nursing, but that was a whole authenticity battle going on. So a side step was, if I leave the hospital nursing, that's helping me to step away, which helped me then to sidestep into coaching. But what is it that's going on in your life that needs to change? And have gratitude for whatever's gone on, because there's a message in it that something desperately needs to change in your life. And what is that? Because deep down, we all know. We just don't want to accept that we know sometimes.
I think it also comes with some kind of self awareness,
Very much.
as you say that you really know what that there is something that needs to be changed. It's just about the acceptance that we don't want to have at that moment.
Yes.
You also said about thinking positive during your darkest moments. Easier said than done. How can one think positive when they are in the most challenging or the dark moment in their life?
It's more initially about changing the energy. So when you're feeling that darkness, that heaviness, dig into a memory that was happy for you, and close your eyes and really see that memory, feel that elevated mood, and bring it into your body. And that helps to lift your mood. And then when your mood is in that more elevated state, think, how can I move forwards now with this? What can I do? Or another thing that we could do is to meditate on a future self that we wanted to be. And that's how I started to turn my life around, was through meditation, initially for calm and peace inside. But then what did I want my future to look like? So if they close, your listeners close their eyes and think, what would my life look like in a year's time? What do I want it to look like? And feel into it and see that vision. And then imagine stepping out of their body now and into that future version. And then do it again for another year. In another year's time in the future, what do I want my body to look like, my health to look like, my life to look like? Feel into it and then see yourself stepping into that again. And then you can come back in maybe 6 month chunks, step back 6 months and think, what do I need to do 6 months from that 2 years in the future to get there? And then step back 6 months again. What do I need to do to get to where I want to be 6 months in the future? And then step back again. So what that does is it helps people to see where they want to go, where they want to be, and what their life wants to look like. But
Yeah.
it also gives them an action plan, because we're stepping back in 6 month chunks, thinking, what do I need to do to get from where I want to be to where I am in this 6 months? And does that make sense? And then bring it back to where they are now. So it helps them to have a plan on how they're going to get to where they want to be.
Absolutely. I think it's all about introspection to
Yes.
see where you are at this moment and where you want to see yourself in future, with consistent efforts, consistent steps to reach there, and also being flexible during this entire process, being patient with the process. Now, if I may ask, how do you think gratitude is connected to resilience?
I think having an attitude of gratitude helps uplift us, lifts our energy, lifts our mood. And when we're in that more elevated energy and mood, we're more able to cope with life, which helps us to build resilience. So it's about lifting our energy and mood.
That's right. Thanks for shedding light on that. How has your understanding of gratitude evolved over the years?
Well, it's evolved from thinking it's just thank you for holding that door open or doing something for me, to properly feeling into it. Wow, thank you. That really touched my soul.
And one more question that I want to ask is, what's something you once viewed as a setback, but now you truly appreciate it as a blessing?
I think my knowledge of medicine and the medical model,
Mm-hmm.
initially that's all I knew. So I lived and breathed that. And then as I started healing myself, I started seeing the damage that I'd done by not healing from the root cause of my symptoms, by taking medicines, which essentially pushes the symptoms and diagnoses back into our body, which are our body's messages. So then our body has to express deeper, larger symptoms or diagnoses to try and get the message over to us. So in learning around what the message was in my body, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to change the way I looked at it. And when I started healing, some of the symptoms I'd had previously started re-expressing. So my face last year erupted in psoriasis again, because I'd pushed it down back into my body through steroid creams.
Mm-hmm.
So in my healing, it came back up to be healed from the root cause. So it was about understanding my frustrations, supporting my liver, and being kind and compassionate to myself, to be able to heal it from that root cause rather than take the medicines. So it is a mindset shift. And I express gratitude that I was enlightened to understand healing from a totally different aspect after living in the medical model for 41 years, and then being able to step outside of that and go, my body heals itself. How miraculous is that? And just express gratitude for it on a daily basis, because I'm able to support it at a deep level,
Mm-hmm.
understanding now what it does and why it does it, and have gratitude for the symptoms, because ultimately they're the message that I need to hear, that something needs realigning in my body.
I think it was all about your perspective that you have had that has really helped you. I had this question as to how can one practice gratitude in relationships without making it transactional?
I think in transactional, are you talking about doing something for each other on a
Yes.
regular
Yeah.
basis? So outside of an action, we can just express gratitude for the love that we have for each other, for that knowing that we are there for each other in those deeper relationships like husband and wife and mother and children, parents and children. Just knowing that it's not all about those actions, it's about that inner love and being able to feel that love for each other in an unconditional way. You know, I'm not saying I'll only do this for you if you do that for me. It's that we do things for each other from a place of love, not in a place of expectation of the return of something, just from unconditional love.
So definitely it comes from a space of love for each other.
Yes.
How do you balance, or rather, how can one balance gratitude for others while maintaining personal boundaries?
Just expressing thanks. Some of us can want to do a lot of things for other people to the detriment of ourselves. We can give all of our energy to other people because we want to help, but we need boundaries for ourselves, and those boundaries are not about other people. They're about self-care for ourselves. So just a simple thank you goes a long, long way whilst protecting our own boundaries and our own energy.
That's so true. It's also about preserving our own peace.
Yes.
And that's where personal boundaries are really important. I want to ask, what's a lesson someone taught you, whether through kindness or hardship, that you deeply appreciate now?
I think doing something and expecting something back in return has taught me that that is not unconditional love.
Yeah.
So I've seen what's happened and understand it now through the eyes of an adult. And now I'm able to do things for others unconditionally without expecting. I have no expectations for somebody to do something back for me. When I do something for others, it's coming from a place of love. It's because I want to, without any expectations of anything to come back to me from that other person.
Also, when we don't have any expectations in return, I think that's where we don't feel disappointed. The more we expect that if I do something for this person and have an expectation that it will be reciprocated, and if it doesn't happen, that's where the problem arises.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we close this conversation, if you could offer one timeless piece of advice about gratitude, something that you wish more people understood, what would it be?
Just to appreciate the little things in life. Know that, yes, it's nice to have gratitude for a holiday or a new car, but actually come back into the little things and look around you at who you are, who you've become, the lessons you've learned, the things you have, and the things you're able to do, because there's people out there that don't have what you have, can't do what you can do.
Yeah.
So don't look at it as I've got this and they haven't. Look at it, I've got this because this has been my journey. I've come from here to where I am now, and I've been able to become this person and have these things. Only compare yourself to a previous version of yourself and have gratitude for everything that you've learned along the way, because there's been lessons and there's been blessings. But if we can have gratitude for everything, it helps us to move forward in a place of love.
Definitely, it's a way of seeing the world, and I hope our listeners take that to heart and find ways to weave gratitude in their daily lives. Thanks for such an insightful pointer that you called out. One last question: where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
Thank you, Ruhi. My website, www.sarahdawkins.com. That's SARAHDAWKINS.com.
Thanks for sharing that. I'll definitely add it in the episode notes so that our listeners can go through the link and definitely reach out to you. And it's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your valuable insights on gratitude. I'm really grateful for your time, your expertise, and the way you had made this thing sound so simple. And I loved the conversation. It was an absolute pleasure having you on my show. I definitely would like to have you on my show once again in future, maybe a different topic, and learn from you a lot.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
And for our audience, if you really enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new one. And if something stood out for you, Share it with your friend, or do let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And until next time, stay grateful and stay inspired. Thank you.